All right, welcome racers and race fans alike, and welcome to round two of Radio Kart on YouTube. Today we've got results from the past week. We're not going to be covering everything because that would take years to go over.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a bit about the battle at the Brickyard, and we'll be reviewing point standings. And the Crystal Ball segment returns.
Oh, yes, it returns. And we'll also be discussing the last event we had at 61 in Concept Haulers, as well as the last event for the 206 Cup North Division race. So that's all in our results section, but we're really looking forward to showing these point standings later in the day and looking in the crystal ball because things are getting very, very interesting.
Yep, there's a lot of different things that could happen. There are even, I guess, developing things that could impact how other stuff plays out. There's a lot of stuff to talk about as far as the points are concerned. But I think it's time to get into the results. Yeah, so forget. How are we going to did you want to do the club stuff and I do the cup? All right.
So for race 7 at 61 Cartway, the Pack the Track event, KHMR race, which I would say was very successful, Nelson. We had in 206 Senior 15 karts, and Chad Peppers was able to break through and get his first win of the year. Remember, he finished second twice earlier in the year, so got to be good for him to get that first feature win. Junior 1, we saw Miles Doherty get his win in the Junior 1 class. Senior Supercan, Morgan Schuler was able to beat out Casey Jacobs for the win. In Junior Sportsman, Josh Carlson was able to win. And in Junior 2, it was Ashton Wheeler taking home the checkered flag. At Concept Haulers Motor Speedway on Saturday night, they had their 7th race of the season as well. In 206 Junior, it was Connor Miklos that was able to take the feature win. And Mike Gray in the 206 Masters class. Logan Smith was able to break through and get a win in 206 Senior. In Sportsman, it was Miles Doherty, which he did a double header that weekend.
Yeah, I can't imagine how they pulled that off. So massive props for them.
Yeah, and then Joseph Bolin was able to win in the feature for the Kid Kart class.
All right, so that wraps up your club results. The 206 Cup North Division raced in Dousman. Which would that have been? 2 weekends ago?
That would have been 2 weeks ago, same weekend as the Battle at the Brickyard event.
All right, yeah. So Saturday of that weekend, 206 Cup held their race 5. Cale Zimmerman won in the sportsman category. Masters was won by Randy Raridan. The Superstock category by Marvin Borntrigger. Heavy 206 Senior by Grant Zimmerman. Medium, Justin Wishard. And the junior category won by Emily DeMaster. Moving on to Sunday, Caden Fretwell came home victorious in Sportsman, while in Masters, Ken Paulson won, with Superstock won by Dylan North. Grant Zimmerman came through again in Heavy to win that. Emily DeMaster won the junior category yet again, and Justin Wishard also came home victorious in Medium as well.
Yeah, Wishard was pretty dominant in that medium class on Saturday and Sunday. Really just kind of checked out away from the field. A lot of great racing in that medium class, though. There's battles all throughout, and, you know, the super stock class had its introduction into the series at the 206 Cup, and on Sunday they put on a spectacular show with battles all throughout the field. All 5 of them were, I believe, within the same 0.8 of a second coming across the line for the finish. It was so fun to watch.
Yeah, now let's talk about that class just for a little bit. I'm not sure how familiar most people are with it. I actually haven't heard much about it, but it certainly sounds like it's an amazing thing to watch and an amazing thing to drive.
Yeah, so the super stock class was the intention of giving it an avenue to drivers coming through the 4-cycle ranks. So if you're getting good in your 206 senior class, and that 206 engine is worn out and you want to go up another class, the super stock class is the next step for you. These things have pretty much the speed and acceleration of the Yamahas with how fast they go. They turn about 7,000 RPM, which is about 1,000 more than the 206 engine turns. But it's supposed to give you a way, upward in the avenue of four-cycle racing. Jim France from Faster Motors puts about $500 of parts and pieces in it, and you go out and race. It's different from the animal class in that there's no machining involved with the engine. You have to run certain parts and pieces, but that seal is broken on the engine in order to run the class.
Yeah, so basically about 500. You could get a new 206 if you wanted to, or you could go ahead and do this, which I think this sounds like a lot of fun. It would be well worth it. Yeah, that wraps up the results. So moving on to the points, I guess. We're going to look at the points for... Or no, I'm sorry. We weren't looking at the points yet. We were going to talk about...
the battle at the Brickyard.
Exactly.
The inaugural race for karting at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The mecca of racing.
Yeah. Now, just some background here. When Indianapolis Motor Speedway first started hosting... We usually think of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as holding the Indy 500. That started back in 1911. It was just the Indy 500 at the time. That track was not supposed to hold anything else.
Yeah.
Then in the early 90s, NASCAR started racing there. Then we got the sports cars racing there. Then Formula One in the early 2000s, and then even very recently, Historics started racing there with Trans Am, the Global MX5 Cup. Finally, go-karts have their opportunity to race on this track.
And it's really interesting because for so long it was just the Indy cars. And it will forever be known for the Indianapolis 500. But now you have these other events, these other races that have their chance to make their mark at one of the most historical track in all of racing. So some fun facts for you on this inaugural event. There were 16 different categories of races going on, and well, that's part of the reason why we're not going to share all the results with you. But 16 different categories making up 304 entries in total, which is pretty good for an inaugural race. They saw over 50% of their entries come from Briggs & Stratton racing classes, which is promising for us, Nelson, because we didn't go this year.
Yeah.
And we would really like to go next year and compete at the historic speedway.
Which I had a good reason. Family trip. While you, on the other hand, you were off doing what?
I was racing in Dowsman, Wisconsin.
See, Dowsman versus the Brickyard, Joseph.
I just thought I would support my local series, and,
How is Dowsman local for you?
It's the series is local to me.
No,
it's more local than Indianapolis too, but that aside, Dowsman had a new configuration I wanted to try, and
I'm just giving you heck.
Yeah.
I understand that. Yeah.
So a successful event, I'd say, for them, especially with that whopping 304 entries. Some of the local guys from our group that raced there, Dittmer and Morgan Schuler, and those guys were out there racing, so it's fun. Tony Nielsen wasn't able to go. He had to work, I heard, so he was not able to race. But overall, just awesome to see karting at the Brickyard, Nelson.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that should have happened quite a while ago. So excellent to see this finally happening, and it sounds like it could be back next year.
Oh, yeah. I think with the success and numbers they had, it'll probably be back next year. And hopefully we'll see it for years to come.
Yeah.
And we can build a karting history behind it, kind of like Rock Island has, and make it something really special for the racers.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling that we could see a long, healthy future for this. Because I was torn up. I was really disappointed when I heard that I wouldn't be racing at the Brickyard this year. And was able to contact a USAC representative over Facebook, and he said we're hopeful it'll be back next year. And he pointed out too that the quarter midgets were in their 6th year, I believe.
Yeah.
There, so it's like if quarter midgets can be doing this for 6 years, and if they can be pulling 300 plus entries for the inaugural event, I've got a feeling this event will stick around for a while.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Now the track was 1 mile in length, which is kind of monstrous. That's a big track
by go-kart standards.
Oh yeah, by go-kart standards, and very fast track from what I heard. They also gave away bricks as trophies, which is kind of cool. Racing at the brickyard. Not as cool as a rock. I don't.
But you see, a rock, you can pull a rock out of anywhere. A brick has to be properly built, I guess. So.
I guess it's the thought behind it that counts, right?
No, it's a cool idea. Don't listen to me.
So that's gonna pretty much conclude our coverage of the Brickyard. Now we're gonna head back into the local scene here and look at some point standings, Nelson.
Yeah, and we have a very special name for this segment.
Nelson has a special name for this segment.
No, we do. It's the Crystal Ball segment, looking into the future of what the points battle might hold.
Yeah, it's certainly looking tight up there at the top and all throughout the field, Nelson, but things have certainly shuffled around since the last time we've talked about this, and, well, Nick Ockenfels is currently the man to beat.
Yeah, you see, okay, I remember back when we first did this, we talked about who we were expecting to win the championship. I picked Nick. You picked Chad Peppers, was it?
I picked Chad Peppers, but look, the guy's missed he's missed 4 races, right? So
what are you doing picking someone like that? Come on now, you gotta pick someone consistent like
Well, he'll get back up there. I haven't lost total faith in my boy. He's got 2 drops, so he can get back up there. He got a win last week, so he's heading in the right direction. He could possibly still make it up there, but I agree with you. Nick is looking really strong right now, looking like he definitely is the guy to beat for the championship right now.
Although I will say, looking at the points right now, not factoring in drops or anything, if Nick misses 1 race, you could actually inherit the lead if you win the next race. So you're in the fight there too, but I think I'm still going to hold on to my prediction of saying Nick for the championship.
Yeah, and you look a little further back down through the field, Thor McDonald actually sitting in 3rd, and there's the real model of consistency right there, Nelson. I don't think Thor would be sitting 3rd if he was running, inconsistent and kind of towards the back of the pack and not showing up to races. He would be probably 7th or 8th in points, but his consistency is getting him into the top 3 in points here, and it's really paying dividends for him right now. Odin McDonald, the 2 teammates right next to each other. Parity in the team right there. Both karts are at the fairly same level, so that's got to be nice to know for both of them, but they struggled to set up those Ignite karts and find the speed they really need to get up there and compete for the top spot.
Yeah, and I think really the fact why we haven't seen them running a lot more up front is mostly the fact that they're still trying to adapt to these karts because they're so different than what they've run before. It's not just simply how you set it up, but how you drive the thing.
Yeah.
Like I've heard that you got to learn a totally new style, how to make something different like that go fast. So.
Well, and you look at the karts that Thor and Odin have been driving for the past, however many years, and they've always had to kind of wheel those karts, and the driver's been the one making it happen there. And the kart, maybe on the later stages of its life, has been hard for it to get the handle the way they want to. Now they have a kart that they know should handle fairly well, and I think they just have to trust it to do more work and maybe get that setup down just a little bit better, and they'll be right up there at the front. I think they're really close to being at the front of the field.
Yeah. And then in 5th,
man.
another good example of consistency, Ken Johnston. He we say consistency, but you can't forget about his 2nd place finish in June there, because that was very impressive too.
I bring it back to last year. Ken won the championship off consistency, right? But if you look at how much speed Ken had in the kart last year, and you look at the field this year, if you would have plopped him in the field, he probably would have been maybe 8th or 9th in the points.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have really cut it. He didn't have the speed, I don't think, last year that he has this year. You mentioned that second place finish. I mean, he's getting fast. He's running in about the 52.5s, I think now, and that's where a lot of our mid-pack guys seem to be kind of stuck at. And if he can find just a little bit more, I think he's in the same boat as Thor and Odin, that he could be up there challenging for top 3 spots. I don't know that I have him as a driver maybe that could go up there and just grab a win away from Nick Ockenfels or Chad Peppers or John Shaw, but if he can run in the top 3 or 4 more consistently, he can work his way up through the point standings.
Yeah, and this kind of going back to what you're saying about this year versus last year for Ken. I feel like last year his consistency that won him the championship was really consistency in showing up for the race.
Yeah.
Whereas this year, not only is he consistent in that regard, but he's also consistent when it comes to his performance, which really shows how much he's improved.
Now, last week, I believe he had a little bit of a bobble. He got caught up in a heat crash, and I'm not 100% sure where he finished during the feature, but still, he's been pretty consistent. Looking at it right here, it looks like, oh, this is not the right race, but trying to find where he finished last week. But like you said, he's been very consistent so far this year.
Right, yes, and I don't know if the championship is really something realistic for him, but still, considering 5th out of how deep the talent field is this year is quite a remarkable achievement.
Yeah, he ended up finishing 10th last week because when he had that incident, I'm sure it dropped him down in his qualifying spot. But you look at his lap times, I mean, he could have been right up there, if he would have qualified better. He could have been up around where Thor and Odin were running, which is where his consistency has kind of been all year.
Yeah.
So definitely think he can work his way up, maybe past those two in the points if he can string some good runs together.
Yeah.
Now we have a bit of a fluke here.
Oh, yeah. Points. Okay. We're going to talk about this then. Okay.
So there seems to have been a mix-up. If you go and look at these points online, Christian Owens is listed 6th in points. That's because he runs the 25 kart. So does Shane Wells, and so did Carter Pease a couple of weeks ago. And so they listed all those points under one kart number. Christian Owens really probably more around the 12th place spot in points when you look at how many points he's actually accumulated throughout the year.
I do think it is kind of interesting looking at this, because if there was such a thing as entrant points.
Oh, yeah. He would be right up there in the thick of it, wouldn't he? But right behind him, we have Chad Peppers, and when you consider the amount of races he's missed, he's actually fairly high up there in points, Nelson.
Yeah.
2 second-place finishes and a first, and I'm now looking at, Nick's consistency. Chad Peppers' consistency is a little bit more there, but like we're saying, he missed those 4 races, so he's not showing up as much as he needs to win this championship or be competitive.
Right, and before when we were talking about Ken, I was saying how there's consistency in showing up and then consistency in performance. Chad clearly has the consistency in performance, definitely over Nick, and don't get me wrong, Nick's fast, but I would say I'd give Chad the prize there in having the better performance-based consistency, but Nick has the better consistency in showing up. Though.
Yeah, and Nick has been consistently running up front, which is part of the problem too, because although he has that one fluke in there and the one missed race, Peppers wouldn't be able to overcome that, I don't think, if he had only missed 2 races, he would still need to show up more consistently. So that's interesting there. John Shaw, now this is a guy I looked at the beginning of the season, Nelson, and I said, I don't know if he's going to run that much. He ran 1 heat race to start out the season, and then he was kind of focusing on his son's kart, trying to get Bryce to run well. And he went a long time without, even entering a race. And then a couple weeks ago, he decided to come out and play. And he was really competitive. I mean, he ran, I think, fourth a couple weeks ago. And then the week after that, he strung together a second place finish. And then he ran fourth again last week. This is a guy that if he would have been running more, we would see him up further up in the points, probably competing with Nick and myself and Thor for the championship.
Yes, definitely. I can't add much about John myself, actually. But no, looking at these results specifically here, I would say if he had more opportunities, like if he was at the track more often, actually racing, I mean, at the track, that he would definitely be a lot farther up. Yes, but these last 3 times he raced, I wasn't there, so I can't really speak from experience of seeing him on track or like what I expect of him. So I'm kind of gonna have to take your word here.
And if we want to break this down a little bit, it looks like from about the 6th position, probably to about 11th or 12th, that's the string of guys where it's like they show up fairly often, but not often enough. You know what I'm saying? They show up. They've shown up, we've had 7 races, so they've shown up for 4, maybe 5 races, at the low end 3, and then those are the guys that are having problems making their way up towards the top because of their consistency factor.
Are you saying I'm not consistent? Because I fall into that bracket, Joseph.
You fall into that bracket, but here's the thing. You get 2 drops, and you plan on showing up for every race for the foreseeable future, right? So that would be only 1 0 in your column, and if I look at, these guys ahead of you, that would bump you probably, by the time we get to the middle of August, you'll be back up to 6th or 7th in points. And that really changes things up. At the same time, these 2 guys at the top of the standings are probably going to miss a couple more races too.
Yeah.
I for sure am going to have a couple of goose eggs in the column because I got 2 more 206 Cup races in August that conflict with 61. And then, depending on how school goes, I may or may not be at the racetrack, And then Nick Ockenfels, he just had trouble last week, a cracked chassis.
Yeah.
And if he's able to get that repaired, great. But can he tune up that other Margay if he needs to and run that as competitive as his Ionic Edge has been?
I had not thought of that. That would be certainly interesting to see, yeah.
Further down in the field, one thing I did really want to cap here, Nelson, Michael Dittmer, he doesn't really have a win. That was Tony Nielsen that got the win. But Dittmer is planning on running a couple more races, so that's points he's taken away from guys at the top. Chad Patch is going to be running more. He's got a 3rd place finish. These are guys at the bottom that haven't really been showing up, but they're running really well when they do show up.
Yeah.
And it's taking opportunity away maybe from guys like Nick to really build up a good, safe cushion of a points lead. Matt Payway has won a race. He's only shown up to 1, but the one he showed up to, he won. Michael Welsh, the one he showed up to, he got 3rd. So interesting to see that happen there. And 5 different winners in 7 races.
Yeah, it feels like an IndyCar season almost.
Yeah. Looking at this, guys we still think could or expect to win races but haven't won races. Thor, Odin, John Shaw is one you got to say. He could win a race.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I got to put you up there, Nelson, with how good you've been running. I'm serious. You could definitely get up there and win a race. Dittmer hasn't won a race yet. Chad Patch, I think he could win a race. I just counted off 6 drivers I think could possibly win a race that haven't won a race yet.
Yeah.
And we've already had 5 different winners.
And how many races do we have left in the season?
We have 9 races left in the 2017 season.
Wow, just think of all 6 of these. If they get a win, how few people will have multiple wins then?
Oh, yeah.
That will be crazy.
The only guy with multiple wins right now is Nick. He's the only guy who's won more than 1 race this year.
Yeah.
And that's pretty impressive considering that the field and the talent that's been in it this year with the 15 kart field last week. It's going to be interesting for sure to see how all this plays out and how far everybody is able to get up into the points.
Yeah, and I just kind of want to make a comment about that.
Mhm.
I had someone ask me once about when I was going to move up to a more professional type thing, like even more regional or something.
Mhm.
And it's like looking at who races here: Matt Payway, Tony Nielsen, Mike Dittmer. This is pretty professional, I gotta say.
Oh yeah.
This is tremendous talent here at 61. This is nothing to sneeze at. This is very impressive. Everyone who races here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a couple weeks ago when all those guys came down, everybody was in the 51-second lap times. There was, I think I counted 8 karts in the 51-second lap times. Well, if we got all those guys to show up, and then all the guys we got last week to show up, you would have it'd be pretty hard to get a top 10 finish. I mean, you're talking a top 10 finish. You know, right now we're like top 3 finish, top 4 finish is pretty hard to get. And sometime in the future we could be talking about a top 10 finish being really, you know, something that you got to work really hard for.
Yeah.
You know, I was looking at, 16 races, how many drivers we've had compete this year. Not everybody's going to win a race this year. You know,
Right, yeah.
Last year we had pretty much a lot of the guys that competed were able to get a win. This year, more like karting should be. Not everybody's going to win a race, and I think people are fine with that with the amount of fun we've all had so far this season racing with each other.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I'm perfectly fine with not getting a win this year. I mean, a win would be wonderful, but I have not been the number of battles, on-track battles I've been having with people.
Mm-hmm.
I have never had anything like this before.
Oh,
in
yeah.
This is my 4th year of karting now. Never anything like this. How tight it is, amazing.
It's been almost more fun racing at the club level than the regional level because of the amount of karts we've been getting and the competition level. We got I've talked to 2 or 3 guys that still are getting karts together and are going to go out. Ryan Wheeler has yet to get his out. You got a kart that you might be able to get out there.
Yeah, I don't know
Maybe.
I don't know how that one's going, but I'll see what I can do.
But two rookies I talked to that are going to be getting out. I say rookies, they're returning to karting after a long absence in it.
Yeah.
So they're going to be making their return to the seat. And then, Dittmer and these other guys that have been racing all over the place. It's been a fun season, and I've never been happier to get my butt kicked by people,
All right, so I think that about wraps up our point segment, unless you had anything else you wanted to add?
I think that's going to wrap up our points segment, Nelson, and I think it'll kind of bring us towards the conclusion of our show.
Yeah.
But we got a few reminders out there for people.
Oh, right, yep.
And one of them, sign up for Rock Island. I went to a meeting the other night. They didn't have that many entries, but I talked to a couple people. Those Briggs discounts are going fast. That $100 off for your second entry is going fast. So if you want to get that discount, you got to get it sooner rather than later and really get signed up for Rock Island and go have a fun time with 40-plus kart field. Elkhart Riverwalk Grand Prix is coming up here in August.
First week of August, so only a couple of weeks away.
Yep, they got tires with your entry, free pit passes with your entry, and I believe they have oil or something too now. They're throwing a couple different things in there, and it should be interesting to see how many karts they can draw to that race.
Yeah, considering the deals there, and it's only in Indiana, I might actually go out to that, actually. My original thinking was if I'm running the second kart, I want to enter that in the club and stuff and kind of be there to help out with that and stuff.
Yeah.
But if I'm not going to have a second kart ready, then I might as well pack up and go race in Indiana.
It's a good tune-up for Rock Island, I think, because, street course, right? It's going to have no grip at the beginning of the day, and then as the weekend goes on, it'll gain a ton of grip. And the only difference is there'll be a couple of actual braking zones, I think, on this track, which you don't have in Rock Island. But the speeds are still going to get real fast because I think they have 2-block-long straightaways.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff. So it'll be fun to see what kind of crowd that draws. I've thought about entering it.
And we can't forget about the endurance race, too. The 2-hour endurance race they're having is going to be something to watch as well.
they're having a celebrity race as well now.
Oh, is this supposed to be like the celebrity race from the Long Beach Grand Prix?
I don't know what it's supposed to be like. I don't know who all is racing in it or what the deal is, but it sounds exciting, and it's something that I would like to watch or be a part of. So,
well, I don't know if this is a true celebrity race. Think there are some people, some celebrities that I do not want to be on the track with.
Name one, Nelson.
There are so many. I'm not going to list all of them.
So that's looking like it'll be a fun event. Trying to remember if there's anything else we got to remind them about. 61. 61 is having 10 or more karts. There's going to be a payout for races. The last couple of weeks we've had, well, 1 week we had 9 karts, so there wasn't any. But last week we had 15, so there's a payout for the races for the top 3. So everybody invite your friends to come out and race with us. Even aside from the payout fact, I just like racing against more people, so the more the merrier.
And if you're not racing, come out anyways. It's a wonderful environment, and you'll see a lot of awesome racing.
Yeah. And then, as always, we want you to remember to turn back in to Radio Kart as often as you can, and remember the good times we have here on the show with you and the fans, and remember to tune in next Wednesday because we'll have more news, more results, and a whole lot more fun to have.
More shenanigans.
More shenanigans, yes. And feel free to comment during the live chats and during the live show or even after the fact, and we'll respond as fast as possible.
Yeah, if you've got any questions that could kind of, I guess, influence a segment that we might do, kind of inspire us or something. So any comments, any thoughts, any questions, just leave a comment.
Yeah, leave it all out there. We'll do our best to answer and bring you up to speed on what's happening in the world of racing. But for now, I'm Joseph Rapp.
And I'm Nelson Jelinski.
And so long, everybody. We're signing off.
See you next week.
Mm-hmm.